Today, we think work from anywhere benefits Kyle, the employee. Oh, you could be anywhere. You could be in Maui. You could be in Nebraska. You could be in New York. Work from anywhere. That really benefits me. I can work from anywhere I want. I can go live wherever I want. And it's going to have a tremendous change on the dynamic of suburbia and communities and real estate and all these other lasting effects. And I completely agree with that.
This is the Rebel HR Podcast, the podcast where we talk to human resources innovators about innovation in the world of HR. If you're a people leader or you're looking for a new way to think about how to help others be successful, this is the podcast for you. Rebel on, HR Rebels. All right, Rebel HR listeners, welcome to this week's show. Really excited for our guest, Evan Sohn. Evan is the chairman and CEO of a site you've probably all heard of, recruiter.com, which is an on-demand recruiting platform that combines AI and video job matching technology with the world's largest network of small and independent recruiters. Really looking forward to having him on the show. He's a frequent contributor to CNBC and Yahoo Finance, and just an all-around really established guy. So, Evan, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Kyle, thanks so much for having me on your show. Really excited.
Absolutely. So are we. So we are all about innovation in the world of HR space, and what better person to talk to about innovation than the guy who is running an on-demand recruiting platform that combines AI and video job matching tech.
I'll tell you, Kyle, what's really interesting is I am like the least experienced recruiter at recruiter.com. Right? I've been doing it. I've been CEO for a little over a year, been chairman for about 2.5 years. My background really is in technology, disruptive technology, reinventing marketplaces and industries. So started my first company at the age of 21, 1989. So I'm not a young guy, in mobile computing. So if anyone remembers what mobile looked like in the 90s, my company was really at the forefront there. Got acquired by Dun & Bradstreet in 98 and have done a number of subsequent sort of small company to big company acquisitions, really grown up, et cetera. And it's real excited to sort of bring my background to the recruiting industry, which, is just this huge, amazing industry that's really ready to be taken to the next level, ready for 2021. And leveraging, I think, what's going on in the world today basically says everything is going to change. So why not have the talent acquisition side of the business change as well? How's that for a mouthful, Kyle?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and we were talking before I hit record. I mean, talk about a timely topic. I mean, you're hearing about the Great Resignation, the war for talent. The fastest recruiting is kind of what's winning right now. And in my opinion, so I've been recruiting for well over 2 decades now, and I think recruiting is way behind the curve in a lot of areas, and it's really ripe for some disruption. So what led you from kind of, the world of tech specifically into the niche of recruiting?
So first off, I completely agree with you. I actually came out with a piece the other day called The Golden Age of Recruiting. Every industry had its moment in time. So the .com, telecom, mobile, e-com, finance, real estate, home improvement, every industry and sector had its moment in time. Recruiting never did, right? And when I say recruiting, let's use the word talent acquisition in general, never had its moment in the sun. This is the golden time for recruiting. Why? Because the whole world is different now. So let's look at, you have, pre-pandemic level of unemployment, right? Just incredible, right? Right where we were to the pre-pandemic level. Yet there is incredible underemployment. Hourly workers, no one wants to go back to work. We're about to see the Great Resignation. We started talking about the Great Resignation. By the way, I think my CNBC segment last month, and we'll talk about the Recruiter Index in a little while, I called it Chasing Candidates, right? That's really what we were seeing, just chasing candidates. The voluntary churn in the US is usually between 22 and 27%, and there are different industry segments across the board there. We think there's going to be just tremendous resignation for a variety of reasons. I never want to work from home again. I only want to work from home again. I've moved. I don't live in New York anymore. I've moved to Florida. New York office wants me to come back in. I'm not going back in. I'm going to move to Florida. Work from anywhere. I think there's so many trends going on now that the pressure on the talent acquisition team, the in-house talent acquisition team. Now, whether that's the small business owner who's running talent acquisition for their company or the global head of talent for a Fortune 100 company, they're under pressure now more than ever before. They may have decimated their recruiting department a year ago during COVID,
Yeah.
right? So here they woke up, they decimated because we're not hiring anybody, and all of a sudden now, holy crap, I need to hire 300 people in the next 6 months. And by the way, that's just to fill the roles I have today. What's interesting, Kyle, is we have this discussion with companies. Are you looking for recruiters or are you looking for pipeline or both? And the answer is always both. Everyone's always
Right.
looking for both. I need talent and I need the people to help manage that talent. Now, to answer your question, boy, that was a nice little detour. I love looking at these industry segments where they're an existing industry and you're going to reinvent it, right? I think we used to use the word disrupt. We don't use the word disrupt anymore. Let's go reinvent this industry. And what's interesting is you look at the recruiting industry and the model was created, and I use the word recruiter then, 30 years ago, right? 30 plus years ago. Hey, company X needs a role. They paid the role, $150,000. So, hey, Mr. Recruiter, I'm working with 16 different recruiters. Go find me the right person. You found me the right person. I'll pay you 20% of the salary. There you go. Now, that's worked fantastic for 30 years. But let's look at where we are today. If you saw a resume, Kyle, you are a recruiter, you saw a resume 5 years ago for someone that was at a company for 10 years, what would you say about that individual? Loyal,
stable, yeah,
loyal.
let's get them on the team. Yeah, that was the thing.
Okay, you look at a resume today and you see 10 years, what comes to your mind? How about the word risk averse?
Yeah.
Not interested in really expanding their horizon and trying new things.
Right. Reluctant to change, maybe.
Reluctant to change.
Right.
Now, we might go after that person because that person is stable. But is that the hungry, dynamic, changing person? And let's look at the opposite. You saw a resume 10 years ago of a person changing jobs every 3 years, and you're going to go, wow, this guy is a job jumper. Right? We had terms for it, right? We had a term for it. In fact, when you wrote a resume, and we could talk about resume some other time, but do I really want to put that experience there? I don't know. I was only there for a year. It doesn't look good on my resume. Like now you see someone that's been at 3 companies in 9 years or 3 companies in 4, you're like, wow, this person's in demand. They're really moving. Look at their exciting experiences they had. I want someone with that experience level at my company. So this whole dynamic has changed. And by the way, how the hell do you amortize the same 20% over a career of someone that's not going to be there for 3 years? Right? So that whole economic model has to change. And if you're a company, you're going to say, I don't want to be paying 20% of a salary for someone that's not going to be there for more than 18 months or 24 months.
Right.
I want to change that. I want to change the whole way this is all happening. And when you look at the model today, the ability, and what we're really doing at recruiter.com is helping companies of all sizes augment their in-house talent acquisitions team through a network of now over 30,000 independent recruiters of varying skill levels, right? We have people that have been doing it for a year, people that have been doing it for 30 years, that are available on demand, like Upwork or like any other freelance platform, and we're combining them with tools. And I think the secret sauce that we have is we have these great AI-enabled tools to search and engage, and we've seen those tools before, but guess what? Very, very few companies want to have a new tool, right? The goal of the talent acquisition manager at company X is not to sign up for new tools. They're being measured on butts and seats. How do you fill the candidate pipeline? So go leverage on-demand recruiters and on-demand recruiting technologies and fill our pipeline up with great candidates. That's what we're doing today. And to me, nothing is more excited than being able to do that time and time again for great, really fantastic companies that we work with today.
We'll be back after a quick break.
And so used to having everything in front of them right away that we forget that innovation just takes time. I myself, I get frustrated too. Why? And you know, this is being one of my best friends is, hey, I talk to you all the time. Hey, man, I'm frustrated in the fact that I can't seem to just get there in the next day. But that's just not how these things work, right? Innovation needs to be planned out. It needs to be very methodical. And then when it finally hits, that's when it seems like to everyone else that it sort of just came out of nowhere. But to you, you know the amount of dedication that it took over that time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. And I hadn't really thought about that and taken a step back and said, okay, job jumper, job hoppers, that's the term. Is that as big a deal anymore? And I think the honest answer is it depends on your hiring manager. A lot of times I struggle, at least in my industry, which is manufacturing, which is explaining that, listen, the 20-year veteran and trying to, court them away from a company, that may be the worst person that we can get given the, what we actually need for the role. And then I think the other challenge is when you look at the approach towards recruiting individuals who are in high demand is also that fear that, if they're in high demand, we might only get them for a year. So if we're not really intentional about the job structure and what we're recruiting for, you could completely waste somebody's talent and experience in a role that's not the right fit. So it's a really, really challenging time right now. But that's an area I would agree that HR in general, we've typically been pretty bureaucratic. We've been focused on the stability and compliance and some of those things, as opposed to how do I actually design jobs, processes, structures for growth, for dynamism, and for the Great Resignation, which whether we like it or not, it's coming. My question is it here to stay? Or is it
so let's
like
muse
a COVID blip?
Yeah, let's muse on that for a little bit, right? So what stops a company from downsizing? Right? Let's go to the opposite. Let's go to the extreme. There's a huge emotional element in downsizing a company. If you've ever seen it, it is incredibly depressive. You walk through the office and cubicles are empty and you have this huge weight on your shoulders. Hey, where's Mary? Mary's fantastic. Yeah, I'm sorry we had to let Mary go. Where's Fred? Fred's the life of the party. I'm sorry we have to let Fred go. It's this huge emotional drain that we have. Well, guess what? If we're all on a video screen, hey, where'd page 3 go? I don't know. Page 3 isn't on here anymore. It's a completely different thought process to reducing a force when you're not physically around them. And we're going to start embracing that, and companies are going to start figuring that out. So there are a few other things that I think is going to be happening. And again, if you look at the trends, you have this incredible trend in the US for freelancers. Incredible. 35% of all adults have a side gig in the US. 50% of all millennials have a side gig. So you have all these competing forces sort of really thinking about these things. So here's the question for you. As a company, I'm going to start to say, and again, I'm exaggerating to prove a point, and I firmly believe, and we are not in a either or world, we're in an and both world, right? I grew up in the VHS or Betamax, right? Showtime or HBO, Mac or PC, right? We don't do that anymore. We're in a complete and both world, and all these worlds are going to be existing at the same time. But I think a company's going to say, hey, you know what? The skills that I need right now are exactly what Kyle has. So, hey, Kyle, I need you for the next 18 months to come to my company. And I will pay you a ridiculous amount of money to come for 18 months. And maybe it's 24 months. But the recognition is, hey, this is not going to be a lifetime project. Come here for 18 months, come here for 24 months. I'm going to pay you a lot of money to come on this assignment. And when it's over, look, you can either go to another assignment at the company for if you want to keep doing that, or hey, we're good. I paid you a lot of money to do that. Now, it's a different mindset, but guess what? When you're in Silicon Valley, there's a 4-year vesting schedule on options. When you see someone at a company for more than 4 years, there must be an issue, right? Because you're moving, you're really moving around there. You are your greatest asset. So I think as companies start to think about, gee, is this a project? Is this a skills based role that I need for a period of time? And address that and embrace that. Embrace the skill. Embrace the skill that I need for a period of time to get that job done. And by the way, let's look at it on a holistic level. I need a very experienced Java programmer for the next 18 months. I don't know if I need that same experience level programmer 18 months later. So let me go solve the problem I'm dealing with today. Address that program, address the issue that I'm dealing with today, and we'll start seeing all those movements. I said the other day on CNBC, probably 2 months ago, the old give it the old college try is probably going to be an expression that goes out the door. And we actually predicted so about a year ago when I became CEO, we did what we call the recruiter index. So I surveyed our recruiters and to use their sentiment to give this to use their results as a sentiment to the overall job market. What do they see? Jobs increasing, decreasing? Are candidates more inclined to look at a role? What sort of roles? Remote? Are they seeing roles that are more remote, hybrid, in person? Salary levels, industry levels, et cetera. A very quick 2-minute survey. And we started reporting on that information a little over a year ago. And it's really interesting to sort of watch, that overall sentiment of where they're seeing things actually happen and the interest in these roles actually changing over time. So I find that to all be, very, very exciting and really look at the skills. Oh, and we started to say, we predicted 2 months ago that we start to see the need for a college degree decreased slightly in the jobs that they were looking for. So what does that mean? In a tight job market, hey, you know what? I don't give a crap if you have a college degree or not. Can you get the job done?
Right.
And, if we're starting to see that now, that's going to actually increase also. Very interesting statistic for you. Pre-pandemic, it was the highest employment of ex-cons.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Why? Well, look, if I need to fill a role, I'll fill it with anybody, right? I need to fill that role. What do you got? Just give me somebody that can fill that role. Now, what I was talking about with the skills level, that actually resembles internships, right? When you bring on an intern, hey, look, this is a 1-year internship. And when it's over, let's go figure out whether you belong here or here. So we're doing that already today. It just hasn't morphed or evolved into the more experienced roles. But, it's pretty cool, right? You used to be a consultant to do that. But look, if a company needs Kyle, I got to create an environment that really aligns with Kyle. And Kyle's like, look, I don't want to be here for 20 years. So guess what? I don't want you here for 20 years. I'm going to create an incredible opportunity for you to come here for 18 months. I need you for 18 months. That's a very, very interesting mindset. And as the resume starts to shift away from these, what job did you work at for N number of years, it's going to really start to really get to become incredibly dynamic. And you and I know the more dynamic the market, the greater it is for talent acquisition people, right? Things are moving around. People are coming and going and moving around, et cetera. And that's just a very, very exciting time.
Well, you've hit on so many things. It's like, geez, I got like 37 questions now. But to tack onto that, I agree 100%. And I think it's been such a shift in mindset of stability and career into a mindset of, okay, what do we actually need done and how do we want to get it done? And I think what's going to be interesting is, we focus so much in the HR space on trying to find the long-term cultural fit, and focusing on kind of the softer skills. What you've described to me, it sounds a little bit more impersonal, but I do think it's the reality of where we're going is with the gig economy, with individuals who are predisposed to not be loyal to a company, but loyal to a profession and to something that they like to do. And if they happen to want to stick around, they can. But what it really sounds like to me is it's more about individual choice, and the power dynamic is really shifting from employer to employee or contractor, however you want to structure.
So look, I think at the end of the day here, you hit the nail on the head. There are a lot of things in motion. We actually called a couple weeks ago. I was on another CNBC segment, and I said that we just started to see chief remote work officer roles, I, right? And they were cracking up. It was like a panel, and they were like cracking up. I'm like, can you imagine? Like, that's my job. I sit at home on a couch and I make sure that everyone's got these remote things. But we're embracing the fact that work from anywhere, right? Who do you think work from anywhere benefits? Now, today, we think work from anywhere benefits Kyle, the employee. Oh, you could be anywhere. You could be in Maui. You could be in Nebraska. You could be in New York. Work from anywhere. That really benefits me. I can work from anywhere I want. I can go live wherever I want. And it's going to have a tremendous change on the dynamic of suburbia and communities and real estate and all these other lasting effects. And I completely agree with that. But you know who else work from anywhere helps? It helps the company. Because what used to happen is, oh, I only could find the fish that I'm fishing for is only in my geographic area. But if I could work from anywhere, you know what? I could hire from anywhere also. I'm not limited now. And by the way, what I've seen some companies do is, hey, this group of people, they need to be in the office. This group, they could work from anywhere. But the mindset there is going to say, you know what percentage should belong in the office on a regular basis, and what percentage I can deal with remotely for a variety of reasons. Maybe that industry segment doesn't like to be in the office. I don't know what they are. Let's not classify the actual role themselves. But as a company, oh man, I was avoiding going into this space because I needed this sort of talent, and I don't have that talent here. So now I can hire anywhere. So when we say remote work from anywhere, we think, what about hire from anywhere? I can now hire from anywhere. Now, we already saw that, right? We saw that happen in IT, in Y2K. That started to open up the whole world of outsourced IT services. And I'm have insourced and nearshore and offshore from an IT services perspective. Maybe it's back office, financial, accounting that I'm outsourcing. I've already started to outsource these individual pockets of things. And by the way, in the overall .com world that we also live in, we're seeing companies that do, hey, you can outsource your HR services to a company. You can outsource this service to your company. You outsource to JustWorks and ADP, your PEO, your employee benefits. So we're already doing these things. So why not move that down a notch and say, hey, you know what? I need some of this stuff built. And the people that build this stuff, whatever that is, don't live near me. I can hire from anywhere. Great. I want them working for me. I want Kyle working for me because I want his DNA as part of the organization. I want him dreaming about the company itself. But you know what? I can hire Kyle wherever he lives. That's going to be a tremendous asset for companies. And what we're going to start to see here is really the companies embrace, and this is, of course, my opinion, the companies embrace this notion and say, hey, look, we're hiring from anywhere. Not just Kyle wants to work from anywhere, we're hiring from anywhere. Very, very interesting, very, very exciting dynamic. Very exciting dynamic, what it does for the industry.
Absolutely. And I think, this is more anecdotal, but, real world experience within my organization. So we're international and we're in 11 different countries and, 26 different locations, but we've started to be much more open to, what I would call location agnostic hiring, right? Where it's like, hey, where's the customer at? Oh, they're in Indonesia. Okay, well, we should probably look at somebody in Southeast Asia, right? Somebody that can get there if the customer needs them there. But, regard which location we need them at. Well, I don't care.
Right. And by the way, you think about that example. About 15 minutes ago, you were worried about those 4 people that work remotely at your company, and are they actually performing and getting their jobs done? And we were having those conversations 15 minutes ago. I don't know. People want to work from home on Fridays in the summer. I don't know if we should elect. Like, really, 15 minutes ago, that was the topic of conversation.
Yeah.
And so let's embrace the beginning of our conversation. Said, hey, COVID's changed everything. If we go under the assumption that the world is going to be a different world post-COVID, then guess what? We don't talk about, is remote productive or not. We talk about how much remote do I want to have in my company, right? And how does that actually work? And yes, I as a CEO struggle daily with how do you run a virtual organization. right? How do you do that? I have like Zoom hours, like come into my Zoom. I have weekly coffee with a half a dozen people every week, and I'm doing that because I'm struggling as an individual who has worked in environments. I used to get on a plane to go to the office to just have FaceTime for 3 days, every couple of weeks. That's a crazy, that's how I grew up. And
Yeah.
now the world is actually changing, but it just creates such a dynamic flexibility, for there were jobs I didn't get because I didn't want to move. That imagine this is not a world now that we're doing that now. You're an incredibly talented guy, Kyle, and now any company that wants your skill set can have that skill set. It's no longer limited to where you live. This is
Right.
an amazing, amazing, new addition to the world.
And now, a word from our sponsors. When Molly, Patrick, and I tried to figure out how to start our own podcast, we didn't know where to start. Thankfully, we found Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout makes it super easy for us to upload our episodes, track our listeners, and get listed on all the major podcast networks. Today's a great day to start your own podcast. I know that you're one of our listeners, so you've definitely got something to say. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be fun to have your own talk show, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcasting isn't that hard when you have the right partner. And the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. And now, for listeners of Rebel HR, you can get a $20 Amazon gift card sent to you from Buzzsprout by clicking in the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening.
Are you looking to grow your personal brand or your business brand? Take it from me that podcasts are a great way to do it. Here's the secret. We all want to feel connected to the brands that we buy from. What better way to humanize a brand than through sharing your personal story on a podcast? I have had great success with Kitcaster. Kitcaster is a podcast booking agency that specializes in developing real human connections through podcast appearances. And let me tell you, it's all about the right human connection. You can expect a completely customized concierge service from their staff of communication experts. Kitcaster is your secret weapon in podcasting for business. Your audience is waiting to hear from you. For a limited time offer, listeners to the Rebel HR podcast can go to www.kitcaster.com/rebel to get a special offer for friends of the podcast. Rebel on. Yeah, it's really interesting you say that. And, from your perspective as a CEO, that's certainly something that, my organization struggles with. And my CEO, it's the same thing. He grew up in a time where, you traveled, you spent all your time traveling so you could see people and had FaceTime. And I grew up in manufacturing where we use the term MBWA, managed by walking around, right? Well, you can't do that anymore. So you got to shift. But I think it's interesting that in the context of, recruiting, my CEO has always said, I want people close to me because that's how I know how to manage. But the minute that we struggle to find the right level of talent, or this impacts our ability to get great people, we have to change. And we're seeing that. We have to be nimble enough in our approach. But it's definitely like it's just a huge challenge. And I think that I don't pretend to have a crystal ball, but at least what I'm seeing is people are going to demand the flexibility. And if you can't give it to them, they're going to be able to find it somewhere else. And
Yeah.
just as you described, talented people can go anywhere and anybody can get talent anywhere. That also is a huge risk that they're going to be doing that for your folks too. If your folks get unhappy or discontent or feel that, there's a better opportunity elsewhere. And we're starting to see the trickle of that a little bit, especially with some of our, what I would call kind of early career transitioning into mid-career kind of timeline. It's not necessarily an age thing. It's more for what I've seen is it's people's goals are starting to change and they're looking for that flexibility. And if we can't offer it, or seen that a lot in like high travel positions, especially where typically they would travel a lot and now they don't want to.
Yeah. Um,
now it's just different.
yes, look, I agree. We surveyed our people. We're about 60 employees around the country. What do you want in terms of work balance, hybrid, in person? Everybody felt that they would want to come into the office every now and then, but most people were like once a week, once every other week, once a month, and it became more about social working as opposed to, we need to work and learn. I will say that I think you're absolutely right. The different career stages require a different level of interaction. Certainly, the younger entry level people need more mentoring. They need more hands-on approaches, et cetera. And I think we're going to have to figure that out. Um,
Yeah.
we're just going to have to figure that out. We have a partnership with WeWork, and I'm actually recording this in a WeWork out in Silicon Valley. I had a couple of meetings here, and it's been amazing. And here I am in different offices really around the country, leveraging what really is their product of, hey, let's have a product that meets the people that want to be able to move around from WeWork to WeWork around the country. And it really enables us to do that. And we're a pretty virtual organization, recruiter.com. We're 60 people really everywhere in really throughout the US. We were always virtual. We have people really on the coast, in the middle, Midwest, et cetera. And so, these sorts of things, how do you create that cultural environment? We actually have a cultural committee. We have a committee that's really thinking about how do we do these things, and that balance that you were talking about. It's certainly a challenge that real companies are going to have to really figure out. I do think the benefits outweigh the challenges, right? Let's not call them costs. Let's call them challenges. And the challenge is going to be that the ability to retain Kyle is going to be much harder, right? Because part of why look, I there was a job I was at for probably 6 months longer than I wanted because the commute was fantastic. Who doesn't want that? Or you like the people. I'm staying at a company because I really, really like working with the people. They're my friends. We hang out. We get together. All these other things. Do we live to work? We work to live, and like all these challenges are sort of going to be churning around really, really quickly as we start to think about those things. But here's the good news. In the world of talent acquisition, it's going to get more complicated. No matter what, it's going to get more complicated. We're not going back to where we were 15 minutes ago. We're now 15 minutes ahead of that. And the challenges now are, I need a constant stream of pipeline. And any company that thinks that they do not need a constant stream of candidates coming in and looking at them is really going to wake up one day and realize, I just lost 15% of my people.
Absolutely. So I want to dig into this a little bit because this is something I've been saying this for years, and I view recruiting very similar to real estate, where it's like, okay, if you're looking for the right house, you're looking at dozens and dozens and dozens of houses, and you got everything flagged up and coming your way so that you don't miss that house, right? But even if you put down 10 offers, you may only get one accepted, especially in this market. So as we look at recruiting, I've always looked at recruiting very similar to like that, kind of like an acquisition pipeline, right? So you always need to have a funnel, and you're kind of constantly funneling down. You've got to look at your value proposition and all your structures. So how do you, and I love the term that was used here. How do you focus on Tinderization of recruiting?
Oh, you love that, huh?
Love it.
So the Tinderization of recruiting is really the sort of recognition that the actual resume that we have is going to change. The resume was invented by Leonardo da Vinci. Seriously. And I think the only thing that's really changed.
That true? I didn't know that.
It's true. The resume was invented by Leonardo da Vinci, and other than Helvetica on the font changing and putting our email and mobile phone number on the resume, hasn't really changed much, right? It just fit on one page. You put your hobbies at the bottom. Here are your most relevant experiences, right? That resume hasn't changed. Yet everything else we're doing has. And I believe that certainly for customer facing roles, being able to watch someone in action, a video, whether it's TikTok video, a video resume, a video screen, and we have that technology as part of our platform. But I think that's really going to be how we start to look at customer facing roles. Anything that's really customer facing, or, I want to make sure there's a good fit culturally, et cetera. You know, in the, if you were hiring a comedian for a nonprofit organization event, or for an event for your company, you wouldn't read their resume. You would say, you know what, show me all the comedians that aren't raunchy, that are in the Midwest, that are available during this time, and you'll get this filtered list of, here are the 50 people that are, or 20 people that align with what you're looking for. Oh, let's filter it down a little more. I don't want an old comedian, a young comedian. Here's what I'm looking for in a comedian. And now let me play a 30-second spot, and I'll say, oh, this guy is really good, this woman's really funny, let me look at her. Oh, what do you know, her resume says she was on the Tonight Show. Oh, she was on this show, she was on that show. But that's how we do things across the board, and we are more than our resume, right? Your resume, you've culled that resume, you've curated that resume to only be the things that you think but you're far more than that resume. I want to see you. I want to see you in action. I want to see you talk about why you love what you do, right? Here's a 30-second segment on, here is me, and here's who I am, and here's why you should look at my information. And I think that is, now, again, not a 21 thing, probably a second half 22. We're going to start seeing these things really move along the way. It's too tight now. If you're a talent acquisition manager, you don't want to get anything in the way, right? You really don't want anything in the way right now.
Right.
So it'll probably be something that will happen sometime, I'm going to say, in 22, just to really get past, everyone says, everyone has the word collaborate on their resume, collaborated with whatever, you get the buzzword. Everyone has these words, right? Led a team, managed a process, collaborated with this group, interoperated with what, we've all done that, right? And grew revenue over there, all these other things. The joke was, my first company was in New Jersey. And in those days, if you didn't have AT&T on your resume in New Jersey, you probably weren't a real company. AT&T worked with everybody in New Jersey. So there are always these like segments that you have. Okay, here's what it is. And we are more than our resume. By the way, here's a trick for all of your candidates that are looking for jobs. You can actually put keywords on the resume in white text, and the AI engines will pick that text up. There you go. So,
we are onto that. I've got the habit now where I'll highlight the bottom to see if I can see any white SEO.
That's right.
But that's the game, right? That's the game. Yeah. So I want to get a little bit tactical there, if I can. So you're a tech guy. I'm just kind of curious, as we look at AI, and I'm one, I have an ATS and we have a couple tools, but we haven't jumped all the way into the AI bandwagon yet. So how does the AI kind of make this match for a candidate, or how does it empower an internal talent acquisition team to filter and find the right fit?
All right, so let's combine that question with the question before. So if we look at the process of recruiting, right, there was find candidates, engage the candidate, screen the candidate, interview, hire, right? That's been the process. So that probably has never changed. So how do you find a candidate? In the old days, we took an ad out in the classified section in the New York Times. That's been replaced with a job board. That's been replaced with a digital job board. That's been replaced with Monster.com. That's been replaced by Career Builder, Hot Jobs, and now, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, and Indeed, and all the other job boards. Okay, so that's how we find the candidates. Then how do we engage them? Well, I would email, I would use this, they would engage me, I would engage them, etc. And I think what the AI, and we have really cool AI, does is, hey, look, finding people, that's pretty easy, right? LinkedIn has done a great job aggregating together professionals, right? So finding people is actually a pretty easy thing to do, right? Identifying, actually, let's not use the word find, identify, show me all of the, you know, XYZ that are in Buffalo, New York, that have at least 5 years of experience and all these other things. Let me find all the people. So what you really want AI to do is to use its brain a little bit to figure out, hey, when I say I want this skill set, what else do you include in case the person didn't actually put down in LinkedIn or in their resume those specific skills? Oh, so I have these skills, you also have these skills. And guess what? I'm not just looking for Buffalo, New York. I'm looking for people that have been through Buffalo. Maybe they worked at Buffalo 2 companies ago. They would come back because this way they have family and whatever that is. I'm going to use AI to help find all these people and identify all these people. What I really love about our tool, because I used all the other tools, is our tool actually combines email marketing and AI search and find. So now that we've found everybody, yippee, right? I now have my list of people. Now I'm going to use our built-in email campaigning tools, AI with A/B testing and subjects and all these other things to now get the candidate to raise their hand. And the real goal, I think, is to really flip the model where Kyle, instead of spending 80% of his time finding people and engaging them, and 20% of the time actually speaking to really qualified people, let's flip that around. Let's use tools that let us spend 20% of our time identifying and engaging people, and 80% of the time actually speaking to qualified candidates and customers and really figuring out matches. And here's why. There are a couple of crazy statistics. The average hire costs a company $4,129 and takes 42 days and 250 resumes. We got to fix that. We got to fix that. We're just not going to be able to keep up. So either we have to get more people in the talent acquisition world or change the numbers. And how do we change all that? And so using tools like what we provide and others provide to really expedite that overall identification process, engagement process, screening process, et cetera, to really make all that happen. Now, I think what we do from a secret sauce perspective is not just we have phenomenal tools that'll stand up to anyone else's tools and access to like 1 billion plus records, like we have all that stuff, but we're actually able to use our on-demand recruiters to actually do the button clicking, right? Or the screening, right? And so you have to decide as the talent acquisition manager, when do you get involved, right? Hey, you know what? I will get involved when you have someone that meets these qualifications, raise their hand, you explain to them the job and they're interested in talking more. Now I'm ready to talk to them. Don't waste my time with someone who isn't ready to move back to Buffalo, right? I just don't want to talk to someone or who can't come to Buffalo once a month for the in-house meeting or once a week because we're doing a hybrid, whatever that model actually is. And so what we want to do is give you more time to actually get those candidates placed, talk to customers about their requirements. And that's where these tools really need to play. And so it's not just about doing it yourself. It's about how much of that self do you want to be doing? How much of the work do you want to be allocating to yourself? Now, when you're only doing 3 placements a month, yeah, sure, I'll do 2 to 3. I'm fine. I'm keeping my job. I'm really happy. If that number is now 4 to 5, I got to do a month. I got to change. I need more throughput. I got to do a better job of doing the job that I'm doing today. And I'm going to do that by leveraging tools and people.
So it sounds pretty similar to what paid recruiters do, right? I mean, that's the same conversation I have with someone who's taking a 20% first year salary fee up front plus, but you're using a tool to do that.
Yeah.
And
people.
Some in-house people. Yep.
I actually really think that hey, I'll only pay you if you give me the candidate, that placement, that model. I think it's a flawed model in general. I think, again, for executive level recruiting, I totally agree with it. It makes a lot of sense if you're going to pay a retainer and you're really locking that in, et cetera. But let's go through the opposite. The worst recruiter that you could find, right? So let's assume if recruiter.com is about recruiting talent faster and better, what's the slowest way to recruit, right? So the slowest way to recruit would be to find a recruiter that has no experience in the industry you're looking for, right? has no candidate pipeline tool, et cetera, and is paid on success only, right? Because that's just the slowest way to recruit. They don't know, this individual doesn't understand the space, they don't have candidates, and they're paid on success. So there's not even a motivation for them to learn.
Right.
I took on, now, meanwhile, you hired this person because you like them, they're your friend, they're your neighbor, they're your nephew's cousin, they're a recruiter. And again, you're obviously knowledgeable in the space, but for most people, a recruiter is a recruiter. So they hired a recruiter. And what do you know? Hey, how are we doing on that role? Oh, I don't have anybody for you. Now I got to go find someone else. So what's the best way to do it? The fastest way would be to find the right recruiter, right? Give me the right recruiter. I need an experienced oncology recruiter that knows to find, these types of oncologists in this geographic area. Let them have a candidate pipeline, either a curated pool or access to candidates or an access to tool to help build a candidate pipeline quickly. And I'm going to pay them for their time. I'm going to pay them I don't pay a lawyer and say, hey, I'm going to go hire 4 lawyers to go do a last will and testament. And the one I like the most, I'm going to pay. I don't go to 4 doctors and go, hey, look, I've got, here's my problem. Whoever could cure me, whoever treats me, that's the one I'm going to pay. But we do that for recruiters and we think we're getting real value there. And again, I'm exaggerating to prove a point. I think there's certain areas where that works. But if your requirement at your company used to be 3 people a month that you need to hire, now you need to hire 5 or 6, run the numbers. What you really want to do is augment your in-house recruiting team. And that's really what you want to do. As a business owner, what you really want to do is get someone that you can hold accountable to on a week-by-week basis. How are we doing? Show me the people that we're doing. And if that's not working out on an on-demand basis, move out. I'll bring someone else in. But hey, I want you to fill these roles, and I'm going to augment my team to fill these roles. That's what we're delivering, and that's really why we're reinventing the way companies look at recruiting. Is what we want to do is provide you this in-house experience. We're going to augment your in-house recruiting team with experienced professionals. Or you know what? You just want someone doing scheduling and screening. All right. You don't need an 7-year experienced oncology recruiter just to do scheduling, but I need someone to do it. I need someone to help me. I want to augment my in-house talent acquisition team with on-demand talent for this specific project. I need to hire these roles, or I have a constant need, I want these roles. Or hey, set up my tools to make sure I have this constant pipeline. That's really what I believe people are going to want to be doing next to really meet the challenges of tomorrow's candidate pipeline requirements.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just, if I peel back and I think about what we're really talking about here is incentives, right? I mean, it's the goal for a recruiter who's paid on a per, fill fee is just get someone that sticks around long enough and doesn't ruin the guarantee period. And then you get paid. I mean, that is the primary incentive. And so it's more about speed than fit. And then you think about an incentive for a hiring manager that has an open position and they've come to the talent acquisition team and said, help, I need this person and I need these skills. What do they want to be doing? They don't want to be sifting through 300 resumes and tell you, hey, I want to interview these 3 people. They want you to say, hey, here's 3 people that we've pre-screened and they're awesome. They kick ass. You'll want to hire all 3 of them. You tell me which one is best, right? That's what they want. So, try to figure out how to do that as an HR person and then just find the right connection of talent to the hiring manager. In my opinion, that's really our goal. That's the job.
Yeah, I completely agree. Right? At the end of the day here, the talent acquisition's job is to fill those seats.
Yep.
And there's nothing that's a bigger crime than empty headcount. Right? It's a crime. Empty headcount is a crime. You got to fill those roles, and those roles are going to come going to be like it's the turnstile. There's just going to be a constant need to make sure those roles are getting filled. Yep. And what we want to do is to give talent acquisition managers, whether they're the global head of talent or whether the head of HR, more time to focus on more important things, and allowing us to augment the in-house team with on-demand specialists. Whether they're working, and by the way, we have some on-demand, we have like over 200 recruiters now out on assignment that are all freelancers. Some of them have been doing it for over a year. Some of them just started a week ago. We'll probably have, more, 30 days from now. This is the move. We're helping, and these are not inexperienced recruiters. These are real serious recruiters, real serious talent acquisition professionals who are capitalizing on their skill set, getting paid for their skills. Now, by the way, they might be freelancing at night doing direct hire on a success fee basis. They can do that on their spare time, but during the day, they're actually working, building pipeline for the clients that we're bringing them, the opportunities that we're bringing them on an on-demand basis. That's what this is really all about.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like if you're looking for recruiters, then if any listeners out there are tired of talking about CDC mask mandates, there's there's an opportunity.
Yeah, the reality is that if you are a in-house recruiter, hiring manager, business owner, and you have a talent issue, by all means, give us a call. Go to our website, recruiter.com, give us a call. I'm more than happy to help you out, or we'll tell you that we can help you out. I've been very surprised about the things that we've been able to do in record time, from getting a team up and running in Singapore to help a company spin up their R&D center in Singapore, to scheduling for in-house. We've been helping a team of experienced recruiters with on-demand scheduling and screening people. So we're doing the whole gamut. A lot of technology recruiting, manufacturing, life sciences, really across the board. It's exciting to watch. It really, really is. Because at the end of the day here, our belief is that recruiting is a human element, right? Despite AI, despite the digital job boards, at the end of the day here, no one's hiring someone without speaking to them. Now, whether that's you, the hiring manager, or someone you've hired, there is a conversation that's happening. And we are embracing that conversation. We're leveraging the fact that there needs to be a conversation and making sure that we're doing more conversations, not less conversation. We just want to be talking to more experienced and qualified people than figuring out, filtering those things out. And that's where we're able to deliver. And the result is that we're placing more candidates and filling those empty seats.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear about the success and the growth. It's exciting. And I applaud you for driving some disruption, some reinvention into the world of recruiting. I think it's desperately needed, and it's exciting to watch. So appreciate the work. We're going to shift gears. We're going to go into the Rebel HR flash round here. We're coming to the end of our time. So 3 quick questions here. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. What is your favorite or most insightful book about people?
I just finished $1 Trillion Coach, which is about Bill Campbell, phenomenal coach, to really just every leader in Silicon Valley. It was written by some of his disciples. Just a phenomenal book, a lot of fun to read, and very, very meaningful for really anyone that's managing people, growing their company. Just really very insightful.
All right, perfect. All right, question number 2. Who should we be listening to?
I'm big, other than you, Kyle, Tim Ferriss is really about performance enhancement, really across lots of different areas, just being the best you can be, and big fan of his.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of time. His podcasts get pretty long, but he's got a good podcast series out. 4-Hour Work Weeks, great book. But yeah, it's like hacking your productivity and getting better. And yeah, it's great stuff.
Here's a guy that's interviewed Patrick Collison from Stripe, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, and Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. Right. So, this is the breadth of this guy's interviewing. And it's really all about, personality development and just being the best you could be. And it's just really interesting stuff that I've learned from him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hugh Jackman hasn't returned our requests yet. So, someday maybe. All right. Final question here. How can our listeners connect with you?
Evan@recruiter.com. Can't be easier than that. Really, Evan, EVAN @recruiter.com. That was the easiest question.
Hey, there you go, man. We like to end on a softball, but, and we haven't talked about this yet, but I don't know how you did it or who you had to pay off, but to get the recruiter.com handle, Good on you, man. Good for you.
Thanks. That was before my time. One of the co-founders of the company, I think, like literally mortgaged his house to get it done. Took out a second mortgage. It's I'll leave this with you. We're a NASDAQ company. We're on NASDAQ now a little over a month. Symbol is RCRT. And what I tell our management team, and we have a phenomenal team, across the whole company, but we have a great senior management team. We're a $1 billion brand, and we have the responsibility to the industry and our community of not just the 30,000 recruiters on our platform, but we manage a LinkedIn group of over 850,000 recruiting and HR professionals. We owe it to the community, we owe it to our network, we owe it to our clients to really live up to the potential of our brand. And it's an exciting time for us and really for the whole industry. And I'm really appreciative to folks like you who keep pushing the ball forward across the entire industry and opening up the dialogue for conversations like these.
Absolutely. Well, Evan, thank you again for spending some time with us. I know you're a super busy guy and really appreciate the time spent here with us today. So with that being said, thank you so much. And we will have all the information on how to get connected here in the show notes as well. And just thank you very much, Evan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
All right, that does it for the Rebel HR podcast. Big thank you to our guests. Follow us on Facebook at Rebel HR Podcast, Twitter at Rebel HR Guy, or see our website at rebelhumanresources.com. The views and opinions expressed by Rebel HR Podcast are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any of the organizations that we represent. No animals were harmed during the filming of this podcast.
Baby.